You're in the grocery store. Everything is fine. Then, it isn't. Your toddler wants the cereal box. You say no, and within 4 seconds your child is on the floor, screaming, inconsolable. You didn't do anything wrong. They didn't do anything wrong, but nothing you say makes it stop. Here's what almost no parent knows in that moment. Your toddler is not throwing a tantrum at you. Their brain is having a neurological emergency, and they have almost no ability to stop it. Once you understand what's actually happening inside that small skull, you'll respond differently. And when you respond differently, the meltdowns change too. Welcome to the parenting brain, where real neuroscience and child psychology meet the chaos of actual parenting. In this video, we're covering 3 things. 1. What is literally happening in your toddler's brain during a meltdown, and why it is physically beyond their control. 2. Why some toddlers melt down more than others, and what that does and doesn't mean about your parenting. And 3. What the research actually says works. Because the most instinctive reactions parents have make the tantrum last longer, not shorter. No judgment, no guilt, just science. Let's start with the brain itself, because this changes everything. Your toddler's brain has 2 systems that matter here. The first is the amygdala, the brain's alarm center. It detects threat, triggers big emotions, and responds in milliseconds. It is fast, loud, and in a toddler, it is extremely sensitive. The second system is the prefrontal cortex, the brain's control center. This is where logic lives. Reasoning, impulse control, the ability to say, I'm upset, but I can calm down. Here is the critical fact. The prefrontal cortex is not fully developed until age 25. In a 2-year-old, it is barely online at all. Dr. Daniel Siegel, clinical professor of psychiatry at UCLA, describes this as flipping the lid. When a toddler is overwhelmed, the amygdala takes over completely, and the prefrontal cortex goes offline. The thinking brain disconnects from the feeling brain. This is not defiance. This is neurology, and it gets more specific than that. Research from the University of Oregon, published in 2015, used brain imaging to show that toddlers' amygdala responses to frustration are significantly more intense than those of older children, even when the trigger is identical. The same situation that a 7-year-old can navigate without melting down genuinely overwhelms a toddler's nervous system. They are not being dramatic. Their brain is literally producing more distress than yours does in response to the same event. Keep that in your mind as we go forward. So what actually triggers a meltdown? Research identifies 3 primary drivers, and understanding which one you're dealing with changes how you respond. The first driver is frustration from unmet desire. This is the cereal box moment. The toddler wants something. The want is blocked. And because their prefrontal cortex cannot yet regulate the emotional response, the amygdala floods the system. Dr. Michael Podagal, researcher at the University of Minnesota, has studied tantrum structure for over 2 decades. His 2012 analysis found that the anger phase of a tantrum peaks fast and hard. But the sadness that follows is what actually prolongs it. This matters practically. When a toddler is in peak anger, they cannot hear you. Reasoning at this stage is neurologically impossible. The anger must peak before connection can happen. The transition point, when screaming shifts to crying, is actually when your toddler becomes reachable again. The second driver is sensory or physical overload. Toddlers have immature sensory processing systems. Too much noise, too many people, too little sleep, too much stimulation. Any of these can push the nervous system past its threshold. Dr. Lucy Jane Miller, founder of the Sensory Processing Disorder Foundation, he found that approximately 1 in 6 children experience sensory processing difficulties intense enough to affect daily functioning. For these children, environments that feel manageable to adults are neurologically overwhelming. But even in toddlers without sensory processing differences, fatigue alone dramatically lowers the meltdown threshold. A 2019 study in the journal Child Development found that toddlers who missed naps showed amygdala reactivity significantly elevated above baseline, essentially the same brain state as a stressed adult. Hunger does the same thing. A tired, hungry toddler in a busy grocery store is not in a social situation. They are in a neurological pressure cooker. The third driver is the autonomy collision. Between ages 1 and 3, where children go through a critical developmental phase called individuation, the brain's push toward independence. Dr. Erik Erikson identified this stage as autonomy versus shame and doubt. The toddler's whole system is oriented around the question, can I do things for myself? When that drive is blocked, by a parent saying no, by a shoe that won't go on, by a cup that spills, it registers in the toddler's brain not as a minor inconvenience, but as a fundamental threat to their developing selfhood. This is why the thing that triggers a meltdown often seems completely disproportionate to adults. To you, it's a cup. To your toddler's developing brain, it is about whether they are capable and in control of their own world. The meltdown was never really about the cup. So what does the research say parents should actually do? And let's start with what not to do. Because the most natural instincts backfire. Reasoning, explaining, or negotiating during peak tantrum has no effect on a child whose prefrontal cortex is offline. Raising your voice elevates your own stress response and increases your child's amygdala activation, making the meltdown more intense. Giving in to stop the tantrum works once and teaches the child's brain that meltdowns produce results. Here is strategy 1. Stay regulated yourself first. This sounds simple. It is not. Research from the University of California, Berkeley, led by Dr. Alison Gopnik, shows that parental emotional state during a toddler's meltdown directly influences how quickly the child's nervous system returns to baseline. When you remain calm, you are literally co-regulating their nervous system. This is called physiological synchrony. Your nervous system and your toddler's nervous system are coupled. If yours escalates, theirs escalates further. If yours stays steady, theirs has something to anchor to. Take one slow breath before you respond. That breath is not just for you. It is neurological intervention for your child. Strategy 2. Get low, stay close, say less. Dr. Ross Greene, clinical psychologist at Harvard Medical School and author of The Explosive Child, found that physical presence, without words, is the most effective tool during the peak anger phase. Get down to your child's level. Stay nearby. Don't walk away. Keep your face calm and open, and say as little as possible until the anger shifts to sadness. When you see that shift, when the screaming becomes crying, that is your window. A simple phrase works best. I'm right here, I've got you. Not calm down, not you're okay, not stop crying. Just, I'm here, I've got you. Research from the Harvard Center on the Developing Child confirms that co-regulation, where a calm adult helps a child return to baseline, is the mechanism that actually builds long-term emotional regulation skills. You are not just surviving this tantrum. You are wiring your child's brain for better emotional control in the future. Strategy 3. Narrate after, not during. Once your child is calm, which may take 10 or 20 minutes, that is the time for conversation. Short, simple, non-shaming. That felt really big, didn't it? You were so frustrated. Next time, or let's try telling me with words. A 2021 study in the journal Developmental Psychology found that parents who used emotion labeling language after emotional events, naming what the child felt without judgment, raised children who showed measurably better emotional regulation by age 5. Name the feeling. Skip the lecture. That's the formula. Let's bring this together. Your toddler's meltdown is not a behavior problem. It is a brain development problem. And it is temporary. The amygdala is loud. The prefrontal cortex is barely online. And the only way through is a regulated adult who stays present long enough to help that small nervous system find its way back. You don't need to fix every tantrum. You need to survive it calmly. And that, over time, is what teaches your child how to regulate themselves. That is the parenting brain. In one sentence, what feels like chaos is actually development. If this gave you a different way to see what's happening in those hard moments, subscribe for a new video every week. We cover the science behind the behaviors that leave parents most confused. And here's your question for the comments this week. What does your toddler's meltdown trigger list look like? And has anything surprised you about what sets it off? Leave it below. We read every single one.